Hello everybody. So today's question is top k frequent elements. In this question we are given an integer array nums and an integer k. We have to return the k most frequent elements and we may return the answer in any order. For example, if we see this test case, in this nums array we are given 3 ones, 2 twos and 1 3, and we are given k as 2. So we have to find two elements with the highest frequency. So one has a frequency of 3 and 2 has a frequency of 2 and 3 has a frequency of 1. So 1 and 2 are two elements of highest frequency. I hope you have understood the question. Now let's talk about n log n approach. So what we can do is we can try to create a map. So what and we can store key value pairs like this. Suppose this is our test case. So our map will contain m of 1 will be equals to 3, m of 2 will be equals to 2, and m of 3 will be equals to 1. This is I'm demonstrating uh, the working of this approach, that how is it going to work. So m of 1 will contain 3, m of 2 will contain 2, and m of 3 will contain 1. Now what we can do is we can use a priority queue. So what I can do is I can use a priority queue and of type pair of int comma int. And so once I have created a priority queue, the first element of the pair will be the frequency of an individual element, and the second element of the pair will be the number itself. For example, if we take this 1 3, then the first element of the pair will be 3 and the second element of the pair will be 1. And this is how we can use priority queue. So priority queue will in the decreasing order of their frequencies, right? Because we have maximum priority as a default priority queue in C++. And what we can do is we can pop elements until we reach the goal of k, and we know that the k popped elements will have the highest frequency, right? This is the first approach that we can use. Now what is the second approach that we can use? Is O of n approach. So what we can do is we can first use an ordered map, and the first thing that we can do is we can iterate through a nums array, and we can store the frequency of each element. Along with that we can store the frequency Along with that we can store the highest frequency of any individual element. So when we are traversing this array, the first input that we will get is 1, and map of 1 will be incremented by 1. So our HF will contain 1 at that time. Once we iterate this second one, our map value will also increment by 1, and similarly our HF value will become 2. Once we traverse this third one, then map of 1 will again increment by 1, and at this point of time map of 1 will be equivalent to 3. So when we run this operation, our HF will contain the value 3, because we are finding the maximum frequency of any individual element. Now one thing we are sure, that the frequency of any element will be less than or equals to HF, because at this point of time we are calculating the highest frequency of any element. If we talk about this test case, the highest frequency of any element is 3. So our HF will contain 3. So I have made this another array, and it is a vector of vector int. So what is the use of this array? So we are using this array to link the frequency of any element with the element. For example, once we traverse this nums array, and once we go through this for loop, our map of 1 will contain 3. So we want to link the number that is 1 with the frequency. So what I can do is I can do v of 3 push back 1. This vector of vector int is a two-dimensional array where the first dimension indicates the frequency and the second dimension indicates the number present in a nums array with a given frequency. Okay, I hope you have understood what I am trying to convey. So we have made this vector. Now what we have to do is, now in this loop what I'm doing is I'm traversing my map and I'm extracting each element along with their frequency. Now the 2D vector that I have made is v, which have indexes from 0 to hf, and what I am doing is I'm mapping elements with a given frequency. For example, in this v of frequency, I am pushing the element. So suppose if the element extracted is, let's say 10, and its frequency is 3. So at v of 3, I am pushing 10. This means that element 10 has a frequency of, so we are running a while loop which says while I is greater than 0 and k is greater than 0. So we know that, now we know this is a 2D vector, and each index of this vector points to a vector, and the index represents the frequency, and the vector to which it points contains all the elements with a given frequency, or with a frequency which has the value equivalent to the index. So what we are doing is initially we are setting our I to HF. Why HF? Because first we will check all the elements with the highest frequency. Then we will decrement our I, and then we will check all the elements with one frequency less than the highest frequency. And that's how we are going to extract our elements till we reach a goal of k. So if v of I dot size is greater than 0, it means our vector at this position has some elements in it. So what we can do is, as we can check that we have one answer array. Let's try to understand what I have done here. So once I check that there are some elements present at the ith index, that means there are some elements with the given ith frequency in our nums array or in our v array. So we have to extract those elements. So for that we are running another for loop, and it starts from 0 and it goes to v of I dot size, because v of I is a vector itself. So we have to run a loop through it, and we have to check the size of that v of I vector, and we have to run this loop until we reach the goal of accommodating k elements, and we are incrementing m, and we are simply pushing the answer. So once we are done with this loop, we decrement our I, and that's how this whole while loop works. So let's talk about this test case in the end. So this is our test case. Now we know at the end the map will contain m of 1 as 3, m of 2 as 2, and m of 3 as 1. And we know that our HF will contain the value as, because 3 is the highest frequency of any individual element in our nums array. So we make a vector of int of size hf plus, right? So the index 0 we will have a vector, at index 1 we will have another vector, at index 2 we will have another vector, and index 3 we will have another. So this is our v vector. So we are traversing our m now. Once we traverse our map according to the given algorithm, we extract that m of 1 is 3. So at the position 3 insert 1. Now after this we get m of 2 as 2. So at the position 2 insert 2, and the third element of map is m of 3, which is equivalent to 1. So at the position 1 we are putting 3. So as you can see, working of this is based on linking the element with the frequency. As you can see that frequency is 1. So in the v of 1 we are linking 3, and at the end first we are traversing this, extracting the number of elements that we can extract until we reach a goal of k. And similarly we are extracting elements from here and then here and then here. Okay, now let me try to run this. So it says wrong answer. So let me try to understand that why is it giving me a wrong answer. One thing is that I forgot to write here is that we have to decrement k. For every element that we have considered, we have to decrement k by 1. Now let me run it again. So it says accepted. So yeah, it's accepted. Thank you guys.